Hello, YouTube. Once again, this is Faith-Based Workplace YouTube channel coming to you. Got a good one today. We're doing racism part 2, and I have special guests today. So I'm going to do introductions. We got Shannon, Savoy, my wife. We got Jahmaal, and we also have Mama Liz on. So they're going to do a quick introduction so you know a little bit about them. We'll start with Shannon Savoy. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, I'm Shannon Savoy. I'm the CEO and founder of Narc Free Living. Narc Free Living it started out as a business, but really it has transformed into a ministry of informing people about narcissism and domestic violence and just being aware. And it's all from the spiritual perspective. So just letting people know that they can be free, that who the Son sets free is truly free indeed. And no one has to live in bondage. That is not the way Christ wants us to live in him. So it's just empowering men and women that there is a better way. And I look forward to today's discussion.
Okay. We got Jahmaal next.
Hey everybody, I'm Jahmaal Marshall. So I am a global lead at the International Justice Mission. That's anti-human trafficking. But also on LinkedIn, the platform I have there, I'm a certified counselor and also coach and mentor. So pretty much my clients are those who are lacking in motivation, depression, all sorts of different life issues. I take that and we do a first 6-week course, then maybe 12 weeks, and we'll go from there. Usually you'll find me walking through the woods and just dropping little bombs of wisdom that God gives me. So that's me, y'all. Nice to meet you.
All right. And next we call her Mama Liz on LinkedIn.
Hi, I'm Liz Franklin, Mama Liz. That is who I have become for sure. I am a motivational speaker and author for young people, children, young adults, college students, and also deal with time priorities. And that's kind of not only work, but in ministry, just the importance of our time and paying attention to what our time is. So I write books and go talk to students and encourage them and motivate and do Mama Liz on LinkedIn and a little bit of everything. So, and that's me.
Okay. And as I said, we have 3 powerful people. Well, obviously, my wife, of course, but Jahmaal and Mama Liz, I came to know them, I guess, the last 4 or 5 months on LinkedIn and become very good friends with them. So when we did this again, me and Shannon talked about we got to get them on. We got to see if we can do this together to bring even more awareness to this because it's a big thing. So we'll get right into the questions, and we're gonna start off with Mama Liz with the first question. So, Mama Liz, is racism the same for men and women? And if not, how is it different?
Well, what I can only go with what I've experienced. Okay, and first of all, I have a real heart for young people in sports and things. And so I see a lot of, it seems to me at least, a little more racism against young Black men, teenagers, college age and things. I mean, even the best of the best really, really have a hard time. Now, I'm not as familiar with women. I don't have as many in my circle, in young people. And then the second area I'm just going to throw out there, and then everybody can throw in here with me, is I live in a little bitty community. I live beside Knoxville, and it's awesome. Knoxville we have a big college. So we have people of all cultures there. And so there's not really a huge problem there. I mean, it's nice. But 15 minutes this way, and I live in a little bitty community. And I also see the problem on the other end, the ones that seem to be the most racist in our area, or, the people that I see are men, older men especially. And I think they're just set in their ways, and that for some reason they have a harder time with people that are different. And so, that's my perspective. I think, in the workplace, which we're talking about, I don't really think there's that much difference when you get into the workplace, because it's a bias simply because of just cultural things that there's just certain expectations. I call it suspicion That's a word I like to use. That's just kind of just hangs over it. But as far as specifics, and you asked about specifics and how I've seen it, that's something that I have seen, and the ones that I see that seem to have the most problem and the most bias. So that's, from what I see.
That's a great
What do you think, Shannon?
I think
you're a woman. Right. Talk to me, girl.
Right. I think you're right. Like you say, you can only speak from the woman's perspective, but you can kind of glean into being that, I have a Black son and a African-American husband. So in, our community, you can see the racism and how it affects them as well. So it's hard. It's just like you said, the older generation, I think, is sometimes it's just hard learning something new. You've always done something this way and you figure it's the right way. And that's what you were taught generationally. And, this is what your grandfather did. And sometimes those habits are hard to break. So it is important, you can teach a dog new tricks. I don't want to call anybody a dog, but you know what I mean. You can learn new things and you can learn a different way. And honestly, I grew up in a family that was very pro-Black, and historically, because my stepdad, he had dealt with a lot of racism. So that kind of translated to us. But then when you get into Christ and you see that in God, we are color, our skin colors are different, but inside we're more alike than we are different. So it's like when you get in Christ, you realize that you have new DNA. Whatever you were taught growing up, it may not be the right way. And it's good when you can, see the world with fresh eyes and know that there's a better way and we can overcome that, whether you're male, female, whatever, Black, white. Inside, we're really all the same.
Jahmaal, do you have anything to add to that one?
Nope. It would only tarnish it.
I got you. Yeah, that was two good answers. I mean, well thought out and spoken. I'm with Jahmaal on this one. I'm gonna stand back and the two women, they're good on that one. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is coming at you, Jahmaal. Is race irrelevant in today's society? Do you think that? Or?
Oh, no, sir. Race has been relevant in every society, not just today's, but I would say if you guys look, and since this is a faith-based workplace podcast and YouTube channel, we get 2 good chapters out of the Bible and then it goes downhill from there. And so race has been relevant ever since then. I mean, if we go a little bit further into the first 5 books of the Bible, we see racism already with Miriam and also Moses' wife. Moses' wife was a, Cushite woman who would have had black skin. And of course, she was overheard, and of course, God overheard her talking. And he says, okay, well, since you want to be so white, I'm going to make you white as snow. And she was struck with leprosy and put outside the camp. So even dating back that far, race or class has been relevant. And it was also relevant, of course, in Acts, where we see the scripture, can an Ethiopian change his skin? And we see it all throughout, even with the Israelites and the Egyptians. It's just so much racism or classism all throughout the biblical narrative because of the effects of sin. And we see it in our lives today. So it is very much still as relevant now as it was then.
Definitely agree. Mama Liz or Shannon want to chime in on that one?
I think he answered real well.
Yeah, I will say this is Jahmaal hit a good point. It's sin. At the core of racism is sin. Satan, he's crafty, he's cunning, and he allows things to come in and divide us. So anything that is divisive and chaotic and confusion, that is not from God. So, Jahmaal hit it on the head. It's sin at the core.
Yeah, that was a very good answer. I'm gonna move. We're doing good right now. We're gonna move right on to the next one. Shannon, coming at you. Complete the following sentence. Racism in America today is, and fill it in.
It's a pandemic, just as COVID is. Racism is just as big as problem and causes just as many issues as a pandemic has. The only thing is we wear a mask for COVID. What do you wear for racism? What do you wear when you're prejudiced, when you're racist, you know? So we treat it differently, but I don't know. I don't know if we should. It is a pandemic. It's a problem that I don't know if it's going to be solved, you know, because Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace. So I don't know if it's going to be solved in our lifetime, but we can be the change that we want to see. We don't have to continue down that same road. So I would just say it is a pandemic. It's a problem that we each can work on. You know, you can work in your sphere of influence to be the change that you want to see. We may not can change everybody, but right here in my house, I can say it stops with us. I can say, you know, we can have those hard conversations about race and try to do better. So it starts with us. It starts with you in your home. It starts when you hear conversations, you know, amongst your friends, when they're putting down another race, any race, you know what I mean? We shouldn't, I have low tolerance for, you know, putting down another race, or because we have to say, we each have our own issues, you know, but just saying a whole class of people, identifying them as one way, that's wrong, you know? So it's a pandemic that it starts with each of us making a conscious choice to say, hey, not in my house, not with me, not in my circle of friends, it won't be tolerated. So I kind of answered that different ways.
No, I definitely agree. I like what you said about what do you wear for racism. That's a good point. I mean, what do you wear for racism? I mean, like you said, with COVID, we had a mask, but so far as racism, we can't just put on something and say, hey, I'm protected from racism. And it don't matter what color you are, because there's racism in every race, so it really doesn't matter. But Jahmaal and Miss Liz, y'all want to chime in? Y'all have opportunity to chime in.
I think racism in America today is the reason, and this is a Christian based program, is the reason we're not seeing the things we're believing God to do.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Because without unity, you know, a country isn't judged based on the world. It's based on the church.
Right.
Body of Christ.
Bingo.
And if the body of Christ can't come together and love one another and love them completely, not, oh, well, you know, I hate the little, oh, I just love everybody kind of, it's a cliche almost, but really love, really love, really be unified with one another. We're never going to see God move.
Right.
Ever. And so I think this is it's coming to a head because it needs to come to a head. This needs to be dealt with in the hearts of every one of us. Because there's something bigger than us that needs to happen. We need to get out of the way.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
If I can, and I'm gonna be quiet. But Mom and Liz, you hit on something. Racism, it's a heart problem. It hardens your heart, you know, when you live in that space where you just walk out the house and you're just like, you know, I'm gonna hate you because you're white or black. That hard. How do you want to live with that, like, inside of you? You know, it's such a heavy, hate is such a hard burden to bear, and we don't have to bear that. But I know me and Jahmaal have talked a lot about transparency, and you hit on something with that. You have to go to God and say, hey, God, I feel this way about a certain group of people. And I've had to have those conversations, and he's shown me, like, no, daughter, that all of my people that are this race are not this way. Maybe historically, each group has done some bad things, but they are not all this way. And when you have that transparency with God, then he can go in there and prune that out of you. But you have to be honest enough to say, hey, I don't know about this. And he will show you. And that's when he can really work on your heart from the inside out, when you are honest and transparent, even about race. And we are honest and transparent. Hey, Jahmaal, you know, I don't know about, you know, Black men, or hey, Mama Liz, I don't know about white women. And then when I have a conversation with you, then it's like, okay, it's out there. We've let the, you know, we've addressed the elephant in the room, and now we can go on and we can get to bigger topics. But if you just keep, you know, everybody wants to tiptoe around it and act like we don't see it, it's there. So why not address it? And why not address those issues and those little, you know, idiosyncrasies that we have with each other? And then that way we can get to other things. So I don't know.
Great points. That's good. I wasn't expecting that on that question, but I love it. I mean, it's good to see the breakdown and to see the different, the way people view things differently. It's just great to see that. Jahmaal, you had anything to add to that one? Are you good? Or
Y'all can tell I'm from a counseling background. I love listening. I can listen all day. Just the points that both of these ladies made are so valid. And just going, like what Shannon said about the transparency, that's when you have to really reckon with yourself. And that's a hard conversation to have with yourself and with the Lord. And then going back to what Mama Liz said, I think about 2 Chronicles, which tells us it's my people who are called by my name will humble themselves. It takes a lot of humility to have that reckoning. And if you think about what's happening in America now, like let's just say y'all have kids and grandkids, all the boys got army men. And if I put all those army men on a rug and I line them up neatly, they're in a row, but they're still separated. If I take that rug from up under, they're all bunched up in a corner together. That's what's happening with the church. We're separated because of our prosperity and all that we have. But right now with COVID, everything is being broken down. God is taking the rug from up under us to shatter all of those walls and bring us together. We can either embrace it or run from it. So that's all that I have to add to what both of these ladies have said.
I love that. That was a good analogy right there. I'm gonna have to steal that one, Jahmaal.
It's okay. I get one copy written.
Nah, that was a good one. I mean, yeah, that's real talk right there. I mean, me and Shannon talk about this a lot. You can see like the shift in like the atmosphere, like kind of what's going on with, like you said, with COVID, with racism, with bullying. We can go down the line with everything that's going on around the world. It's not just in the United States. It's every country you can go to and they have something going on. And it's sad, but like Mama Liz said earlier, it's something that needs to happen. It's coming to a head. It needs to happen. So, you know, that's why I say stay prayed up and, you know, make sure you're reading your Bible. And, you know, you don't have a church, you know, find a church. But then some of the churches, hey, like me and Shannon talk about that too with the churches. That'd be for another video, but hey, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, you have to find Christ. You have to find Christ. That way he can lead you to the church.
Exactly.
You got to find Christ first.
Exactly. Okay, moving right along. Jahmaal, coming at you next. Do you see anything wrong with saying I don't see color when people say I don't see color?
I think it's a good cliche. Mm-hmm. It's really a good Hallmark cardish words to say, but you should see color.
Exactly.
I'm very thankful on my team. All 4 of us are different. You know, I'm a young Black man. The other global lead is a young Asian Chinese lady. My manager is a Indian South Asian woman. You know, our recruiter is a young white German man. I see all of the creativity of God in them. When I see him, I see a young white man. I see a young Asian lady. I see a young Indian lady, and it's beautiful. In my small group, I see Hispanics. I see it at all, Middle Eastern, and it's beautiful. So I see color. I see God's creativity when I see you. So here I see a white woman, I see a Black woman, I see a Black man. You know, I see the color and I see how wonderful God is in his creative overkill of so many different people.
Yes, that's beautiful.
That's good. Danny?
I mean, what more can you say about that? It is very cliche. I think people mean well when they say that. They do mean well. But we, like Jahmaal said, God made us like he made, if you have a problem with my skin color, take it up with my Father. You know, people are mad at you for being a certain color like you made yourself. None of us got here by osmosis. None of us, we are here because of our Heavenly Father. And he chose to make us all these colors. So why not embrace it? You know, like Jahmaal said, that is a beautiful thing when you can go to work and you see all different facets. And that's what I told God. I said, I want my friends to look like the rainbow. You know, I want it to look like, I want us, and then that's another thing besides color, you want the culture that comes with it. You know, like I have a Indian lady, she's a prayer partner of mine. Oh my goodness, this lady is so awesome. You know what I mean? And just the different things that each person brings. So that's what makes us all unique, when we can embrace it. You see color, but you embrace it. So I don't think it's anything wrong with just embracing our colors.
Mama Liz?
I could be honest. I've said this, but I've said it from an honest heart. What I said was, I don't look at color as a bad thing. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, that can come across the wrong way. And so suddenly I'm like, I need to change that, you know? So, you know, we all have the same color blood, you know? And for many, many, many years, you know, that's been my focus, is the heart of people. And it's like, you know, it just doesn't matter to me in a good, hopefully a good way. You know, I embrace it. I love it. I love all the cultures. I love all the different, you know, differences and things. I do. But as far as, you know, I think some people, they just say it, there's so much things that are just cliche. It's like, I mean, it's like earlier, you know, Jamil mentioned, if my people will humble themselves and pray. And everybody just skips over that part and goes right to, we're going to pray, you know? And I think that's kind of with this thing. It's like they say it, but it's not really their heart, you know? And I think if your heart is really like, it just doesn't matter to me what color you are. It doesn't. It really doesn't. You know, I just love you, period. And that's all, you know. And so, you know, but at the same time, if it's something that causes someone else to think, that makes me uncomfortable because they don't appreciate me, then I'm going to step back and I'm going to reevaluate what I say, because I don't want to hurt someone else unintentionally.
Right.
So.
I want to just chime in real quick, and I wouldn't say that it runs the risk of even hurting anybody, because my parents, I was raised in a very culturally hardened household. And so we were taught that, the youngest two of us, Jasmine and I, we often said, I don't see color, because that's what we were taught by our parents. And so if you see an Asian person, a Hispanic person, a Middle Eastern person, white person, whatever, don't see their color, just see their character. And so I've said that, Liz, and it's like, you know, I want to, you know, again, this Solomon's leading this, but definitely don't want any Christian to come away from this thinking we have to be as politically correct as the world.
Right.
You know?
Right. But at the same time, because it's such a sensitive issue right now, I think that, you know, when you're in the fire, you got to be careful not to even light a spark. You know? And if it's going to hurt one person, I want to do it.
And Mama Liz, I think you, and I'm going to be honest here, I'm going to put it on the table, I'm going to be raw. I think you as a white woman, that's being honest. You know what I mean? That's being humble, because you don't want to, because you recognize the sensitivities, you recognize the struggle, especially being around all different colors, you recognize the struggles that we have inherently. So I think that you're sensitive to that. And I think that shows your heart, you know, and I think that that's a good thing. And we need that on both sides of the table. But I think that's beautiful that you recognize that, you know, as a white, you know, a Caucasian woman. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know, so.
Yeah, I'm, since we're being honest on here, like Jahmaal said, I've said that too in the past. I don't see color years back, but I guess learning and just looking at things differently, I don't say it anymore. Not that, you know, it means anything or whatever. It's just, it's like Jahmaal said, you see people character, you know, I look at people for what, you know, what they bring to the table. They could be any color, but what they bring to the table is going to determine if we're going to be friends or cool, no matter they black, white, Hispanic, that doesn't matter. So their character is going to actually, you know, they funny or, you know, they Christ follower or believer. All those things is what make the person, you know, it's I'm going to talk to this person in the future. You know, so the color is not going to determine that. So, you know, that's my 2 cents. Okay, moving right along. Let's see. No, wait, hold on. Yes, Mama Liz, have you experienced racism at any time in your life?
Yes, I have. Maybe that's one of the reasons I'm so sensitive about it. So years ago, and you know, this is a work situation. I was financial planner. So I'm this like little bitty, barely 5'4", you know, blonde, like bleach blonde back then. And my business partner was 6'5", 6'7", former basketball player, black guy, awesome, you know, Michael's like a brother to me, love him to death. And we just, you know, we go do business and never had a problem. So we set this appointment with the city. And well, we didn't know that city had a terrible history. And there were zero black people allowed in the city. So here we come rolling up, stop to get gas. And he gets out the car and pumps gas and goes in to pay. And the guy's like, what are y'all doing here? You better get out of town. You know, and he's like, well, we got a meeting down at City Hall. And he's like, well, you better lock your doors, go straight there, and then get out of here. And he comes back in the car and tells me, and I'm like, okay. You know, so we go on to the appointment. And I remember the feeling. It was like these long steps going up, and I'm like looking behind me, you know, not sure what to expect. And it was horrible. And it was so wrong. And it was so unfair. You know, and so, yeah, it's like I've got to step into the role and into that moment for a second and feel what it felt like. And it was terrible.
Jahmaal?
And I think that's what it causes you to have empathy. You know, God allows us to have those situations for a reason, so you can be empathetic to sit in someone else's shoes, even if it's just for a moment, and you can say, wow, this is what you experience, you know, day to day. And that will give you a heart. That's what gives us a heart for different people. When you can just sit in their shoes for a second, just be like, wow, this is what you go through, you know? So I'm going to do everything in my power that I don't make people feel like that. So that, I mean, I hate that happened to you and him, but it's good that, you know, you learn something from it. I think we can all learn something from that. And I know historically, I know some people will say, I guess the definition of racism, or Black people can't be racist because we don't have the institutional power, but I think we all can experience prejudice. So I guess it just depends on how you look at what your definition of racism and prejudice is.
Yeah, that's one of the things that he taught me. He's like, Liz, it's just as bad in my community as it is in yours. So don't think it's a white problem. It's we both have a problem. Right. And so, you know, I love those guys still today. I mean, they're like my brother and sister. You know, either one of us would lay down our lives for each other, you know, but, you know, we really had some honest conversations about it. And, you know, I mean, we're talking the 90s. So like 94, 95, you know, that I was working with him. So it was a while back. It's a little worse than it is today too. A little more. Yeah.
Racial tensions were high back. That's like I was graduating high school then, but I just remember the time. That was, you know, the LA scene and, you know, hip hop and all that. So it was a different time.
Oh, but this city, I mean, I looked it up recently when I talked about this to someone recently, and like 4 years ago, they only had 4 Black people.
Oh, so that's probably like a sundown town or something. That's what
it's like. It was a major something that happened in the past, and they they removed everyone from the city and never overcame it. And it was like 50 years before that.
Right.
So it's like craziness. But those are the crazy things that we got to go back and fix as a generation and teach our children a different way and our teenagers a different way and our parents a different way of thinking.
Yes, absolutely.
Jahmaal, you have anything to add on that one?
Not too much as far as experiencing racism, because I myself have connected with some people on the platform, some young Black men, where we have not, quote unquote, directly experienced a lot of racism. I have one particular incident when, because, I lived in Middle America. I lived in Kentucky for 8 years in Williamstown. And the whole time I was there, a lot of times people are like, how do you feel when you walk around? Because I walk everywhere, as y'all can probably tell.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel when you walk by yourself? I'm like, I'm covered by the blood. I go wherever I want. But I was going down to see, I had accounts, a former client that lived in Glasgow. And all of my guys who I work with, like after we're done working, we're just friends, And so he said, I want you to come see me, come see my family, come see my church. And so it's about an hour and a half south of Williamstown. And I went down there and my ignition started, like my car started kind of halfway cutting off. So I said, let me pull into a shop and try to figure this out. I went to some other places. They were really helpful. But I pulled into this shop and I remember this guy, he had to be like in his late 70s or maybe early 80s, but he was the mechanic and he literally would not see me. But he saw the lady behind me. And I had one of my other clients with me who was Canadian and he said, that is really messed up. And I was just like, that was like the first, I think I was 32 when that happened. So like for me, it's almost like shocking because it's like nothing like that's ever happened in my life. I'm originally from LA. I came to DC. So I lived in very melting pot societies. So I was like, okay, this is different. So, I just kicked the dust off my feet. I was able to get my car to where it needed to go, got it back to campus. And a gentleman worked on my car, did an even better job than he would have done. So it's just like, I got double for my trouble. I'm being real with y'all, but like that was the first time something like that had happened where it's like, I felt like he would not see me by virtue of the nature of and it was something more like nothing he said is what he didn't say. And I'm not the one that, kind of has this red beam of racism for everybody who doesn't, agree with everything I do. But I kind of could sense it, and so could my client. And my client was Canadian, but he was just like, he's like, that's really messed up. So that would be like my experience where it was just kind of like, wow, that's different. So
that's good. You didn't let it jade you. You were just like, because some people, we internalize that, and that's not good. You think it's about you. That's not about you. That is their problem. So now when I see stuff, I'm just like, oh, if you want to treat me funny and I haven't done anything to hurt you, oh, that's a reflection of you. So it's good that you have that, whatever, that self-esteem, that healthy self-esteem, that healthy, knowledge of who you are, to not let something like that jade you. Because some people would have been like, oh, well, I don't like people, or you know what I mean? But you, like you said, shake the dust off your feet and go to another shop and keep it moving, because that's his problem, not yours.
That's it. And also all of us on here are 30 and over, so we all still write checks. I have a check right here. I write you a check and I pay you absolute dust. I owe you nothing.
There you go, and keep it moving.
That's it.
That was a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
You ain't around me long enough. There's plenty of these.
Yeah, racism, I won't talk too long. I mean, y'all, hit on some good points. I experienced it a few different times in my life. I won't go into great detail on it, but it sucks. And it's like y'all say, it's that moment, it like defines who you are. You can either run with it, or you can take it head on, however you want to do it, or make a big issue out of it. I chose not to make a big issue out of it and, just keep moving. Because, I guess being younger and seeing the things that I've seen, we got a town out here. I told Shannon about it, but she know about it. Vida, Texas. So I like the town you was describing earlier, Mama Liz. So you don't have too many African American people that stay there. I think when I Googled it, a few months back, whatever it was, population Black was like, 1 or 2% of the town or whatever. Things like 4 people or something like that. But that's one of those towns that not to stop in if you African American. Like, so if My gas tank would be on E. I would not stop and invite a ticket. I would keep driving or run out of gas before I stop. That's just how bad it is. I know Caucasian people and white people that I know that are friends, and they won't even stop in there. So they just tell you how bad the town is. Not putting Vita on the glass, but it's true. And
we went on to our appointment. We didn't get the case. Imagine that. And it was just like never set an appointment in that city again. Because I just didn't want, it was so wrong. It's like, I'm not going back there. It's not fair. And so I just didn't go back.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. Don't blame me not one bit. Okay, moving right along. Shannon, coming to you this time. Shannon, where do you think racism originated from?
I kind of hit on that earlier, from the enemy. It's unfortunate. He took something, whatever God makes good, Satan tries to destroy, and, he tries to make it, he flips it, So God made beautiful people, and, here comes the enemy. He's going to use this to destroy us. Like Jahmaal said, it's literally destroying you from the inside out, sweeping the rug up under people. So now we're fighting each other instead of fighting the enemy, because that's all he wants to do is us to take our focus off of him, and we're fighting each other. So if you're participating in racism, you are fighting your brother and sister. You know what I mean? So how crazy is that? So it comes from sin. It comes from the enemy. It comes from hardening your heart. So that's where it comes from, in my opinion.
Great opinion. I agree.
Absolutely.
Anybody want to add anything to that? We can move on to the next question. Okay, Jahmaal.
I think she handled it good.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Jahmaal, do you think politics play a part with racism in the workplace?
Okay, so y'all can give me the dirty question.
I just spread them out a little bit.
I would definitely say it depends on the workplace culture. And I mean, there's plenty on the platform. Y'all know it. We all connected to that speak to this on workplace culture. Like that's what they do. That's what their line of work is. And so you can have a good old boys club within a workplace culture. But I did a while ago, in July, a podcast with Devesh Tilakani with Progressaholics, and it cuts both ways. Diversity and inclusion includes diversity of all. So if I'm sitting on a board and I have all Black people, and Liz comes in and says she has this idea, it's like, well, no, we don't want your idea because you're white and you're a woman, and I don't feel like talking about that, and that's not going to fly. We can't market that. That's still a sense of political oppression and racism. Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's call a stat a stat. And so you have whoever holds power or sway in that company or corporation amongst their friends and who they keep company with offline and online. If they have that proclivity, they're going to spread that culture, and that culture becomes toxic. So yeah, workplace politics can definitely play a part in racism, and it cuts all different ways depending on who holds power within said organization. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, oh, you did. That was good. That was good. How you said that was fire.
Yeah, you nailed that one. Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Like Jahmaal said, the workplace politics, and then you also have the governmental politics that unfortunately play a part. You have, in the office, people that don't get along because one side is Republican and one side is Democratic or independent or whatever. And that's still divisive. I wouldn't want to come to work and talk about politics. I do not discuss politics, because that is something, you learn as you live and learn. Some of us, especially those of us in the body of Christ, know that there is only one kingdom, and that is the kingdom of God. That is the one that matters. It doesn't matter, Dem and Republican. I'm not going to, not associate with you because you're either one. I choose not to be either one, but if you do, I'm still going to love you, regardless. So, and it's sad when you see that, I was telling Solomon in our neighborhood, if you go down the street, right, on the other side of our neighborhood, it's like our neighbors are having a battle. So one day someone had a Biden Kamala sign, and then the next day someone had a Trump Pence sign, and then the next day the neighbor had a Trump flag. And then the next day, it's like so now all of them it's like 20 signs in their yard. It's like a battle. And I said, I hope that is a friendly, I hope that that's friendly, because I would not want to, come to my house and battle with my neighbor over politics. So I think it's funny because it's not mean. I hope it's a friendly battle, but you can see how it's a literal line drawn in their yard. And on one side is Pence and Trump, and the other side is Biden and Kamala. So I hate that it's come to that, but I hope that it's a friendly, little battle there, and it's not, disrupting, their friendship or the neighborhood or their relationship.
Mama Liz, you want to add anything to that one? Good.
I think we got it good.
Yeah, we got that one good. I thought so too. Okay, Shannon, coming right back to you. How do you develop genuine friendships with people outside your race?
Have an open heart and an open mind, and let people in. Because I didn't do that. I didn't used to do that. And it was fear. It was fear-based. That's of the enemy. I was living a life that was fear-based. Oh, well, what if this person hurts me? Or what if this person does that, to me? And it had that, once you open your eyes, it's like, wow, these people are beautiful. This person is nice. This person is nice. And every once in a while you run into a jerk. But that is not how most people operate. You're going to always run into that one person. But if you just keep an open mind, and now you see, I talk to people of all races, I talk to people in South Africa, in India, in Asia. It is such a beautiful thing. So I think you just have to open up your heart. Once you have that Holy Spirit, he's not going to allow you to have that hate in your heart. So then it becomes much, much easier to treat people the way you follow the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that covers a multitude of sins, that covers a multitude of it. And then you can open yourself up to those friendships.
It's a great answer. I have nothing to say on that one. I can't follow. I mean, y'all can follow. Y'all have it. I have nothing to say on that one.
I can answer that briefly. And I would say in a real simple way, just do life with people who look different than you. That's how Jazz and I just learned. We just did life. One of my best friends in junior high, Marvin Diaz, El Salvadorian. It wasn't a thing like he's El Salvadorian. He was just Marvin to me, Mm-hmm. And so, and I think about Josh, like as a 17-year-old, one of my best friends, most of my best friends now don't look like me. We just do life together. It's not that you are this, it's just you're human. And we're actually all one race. You just happen to be a different ethnicity who descended from a different continent. And so we do life together and we just rub shoulders. We're just doing life and having fun. And our differences actually make us better. We can get so much more done together than we can apart. And going back to Shannon's thing about the politics, it's like, I'm not so much concerned about a man or a faction in the White House. That doesn't change the way I do life with Mama Liz or you or Shannon. That doesn't change anything. Us doing this is us rubbing shoulders and doing life. Yeah. That's how we overcome the racism, is we do life together. We can battle it out over who's in the White House, but who's in that house and who lives here is going to help us overcome.
Amen.
And helps us grow into maturity.
You're preaching.
Oh, you got me fired up with that question. And she took it home, and I said, well, let me just add my little 2 cents, because it's too many people that, I'm like, just do life with them. Yeah. Go out, eat dinner, play a ball game, go to a ball game. They're going to watch the ball game just like you.
Yeah.
Asian eyes, black eyes, Hispanic eyes, Middle Eastern eyes don't look at the ball no differently. If I'm at a tennis match, we all just doing like this.
But Jahmaal, I think when you said that, do life differently, I think people, if I'm looking at how I was looking at my family and like, would they approve of me, bringing up this person home? Or it was my culture. I was allowing my culture to influence my friendships. And when I stopped doing them, when I stopped caring about what they think, you can do life differently.
Yeah, and you just enjoy people, because it's like what prejudice is prejudging.
Right.
Oh, this person is Asian, this person is Hispanic, they're Middle Eastern. I mean, think about how life for Middle Eastern people around 9/11. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
all these prejudgments, or this person is white, so they're going to be all these races, they're going to be a jerk. I live in Southeast DC. I know a lot of black jerks, period. So I know people who look just like me who have maybe done more to me than someone who looks different. And so the thing about life will tell you that. And that's where I know we still have a series of questions to go through. That's what we as Christians, because this is a faith-based YouTube and a faith-based podcast, we don't let the media influence the way we do life. You know what I'm saying? Or we don't let, like Liz said, sometimes we have to teach our parents or our grandparents. We don't let them influence the way we do life. We say, okay, God, you see all things. You have the bird's eye view of exactly where this life is going. How do you want me to do life?
Yes. That's it.
That's good.
I'm sorry. So y'all got me fired up. I'm sorry.
Hey, you go ahead. I'm one of the mic drops right there. You go ahead. That was good.
I think that's what Mama Liz was saying. You know, that she didn't allow what she saw on one side to say, hey, I'm not going to be friends. I'm going to treat these people differently. And I think that's kind of what it's all about.
Definitely. I definitely agree. Speaking of Mama Liz, the next question is coming to you. Liz, Mama Liz, how can we stop policing of minorities at work?
Oh, good one. I don't think rules and regulations can change things. When I thought about this, and the word that came to my heart is the word suspicion. See, that's really the heart of it. It's like somehow this underlying just suspicion of that something might not be right. I don't want to hire this person, or I need to watch this person, or, all these things. It's all based on this one thing of just being suspicious in an unfair way. And the only thing that's going to change that is a heart change. And we keep saying this, but it really is going to come down to a heart change. But we have to it's not only a heart change on people on the side of being suspicious, but it's a heart change on the people who expect to be treated that way. Because we both have, I can't judge from, color. I can judge from being a woman. And I know going in, as a financial planner, as a woman, and I'm going into a business office, I had to do the work 10 times better than a man to get the business because I was a woman, period. No other reason. I was top in the top like 10% of the nation in what I did. I did things like way above what was required or what people would expect of me. But just because I was a woman, there was this suspicion they didn't know what I was talking about because it was finances. That's ridiculous. But that's the same thing inside business with color. It's like, oh, well, I don't know if I can hire this person, or giving less of a favorability to someone because of color, or policing them, or watching them differently, or doing things in a different way. It's based on suspicion of something that's not even fair, because it's not about the person. And so hard issues, that's, we've got to wake up. There needs to be, training, I think. People need to be trained to look at character and the right things in employees instead of color or their gender or whatever, and changing the whole reason, the whole makeup of how business runs and the way they view people and the way they interact with people. So, yeah, but suspicion, and I think that's really the heart of it. It's like, and it's terrible to walk around with that. You always feel like you're just not. I talked with someone this week in a Zoom meeting, and he said, I always felt like I was just, because he had this fear of rejection. And he said it was because he was very, very smart. He was brilliant. And so teachers, when he was younger, would not give him a higher grade because he could have done better. Well, he didn't understand why his work, which was better than someone else, was rated less than someone else just because he had a higher potential. Well, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, it's like, it's not based on apples to apples. It's based on color or things inside that you have preconceived about the person. It's not even fair. And so big heart changes, big changes in the way HR looks at people, big changes in just the whole, I mean, I don't want to get into a whole lot about it, but, I was thinking about a children's book, and I realized that even Muhammad Ali, a long time ago, did this speech about how color, just the color black, has certain implications. You think about black, it's evil, is associated with black. Sadness, mourning is black. Everything, black cat is bad luck. Well, we've got these things ingrained in us that before you even get to a person, about the color itself. So there needs to be major, major, major change on the inside, where we really are looking at how we really are looking at people and look at them for their value of what they bring to the table instead of these unimportant things.
Wow, that was a lot. Jahmaal, Shannon,
Sorry,
that was good. I mean, I'm sitting there educated.
Yeah, I mean that that was annoying. So, I can't follow that, and I'm not going to try to. But from a process standpoint, it may sound a little boring, but from a process standpoint, it starts in HR. Just to specifically answer your question, and a lot of times HR needs reformation. Sometimes HR is the ones who go in and do the reforming, but we're seeing with this issue across the board, with racism and sexism, HR needs to be changed. Because if you think about HR, 60 to 70% of HR is women, but they even have a programming of sexism where they prefer a man to do the job over a woman. And so they need to be completely reprogrammed from within, and they need the very training that they're saying employees need to do. Maybe you need to be trained. So from a process standpoint, it needs to start from the core. And in the human resource department, it's actually staffing the organization and providing even training for the C-suite. So again, going back to what Shannon said about 10 minutes ago, that reckoning with self, where do I need to change? What do I need to admit to? What do I need to fess up to? And that's how the policing of minorities and going against racism, that's how you tackle it. But if you don't tackle it from the nucleus and the heart, which is HR, then you continue to have a cyclical issue. So.
Wow. I definitely agree with that. Go ahead, Shannon.
Both Jahmaal and Mama Liz hit on that and I'll say, I guess from a Black woman, being in IT formally and being in STEM, you see it all day long, and even if I was, when I was in the military, I would be the only woman at the table a lot of times, and even in corporate America, it was the same thing. So you experience the racism and the sexism, and I can't say like somebody just was blatantly, racist to me at work. Thank God, I have not had that experience, but I can say the sexism, I've experienced more sexism than I ever had racism, and like you said, that good old boys club and it's not even a good old boys club. It's just men, in a male dominated field, where women make up just a small subset of the numbers in STEM and in IT. You see you see the dynamics and how the sexism and sometimes the racism comes into play. And like you said, Jahmaal, from an HR standpoint, it definitely needs to be overhauled, because I could have the same, if it was me and another candidate, and they're going in there with prejudgments about me, and you don't know, I come with a lot more than what you see on that paper. But if you're just looking at, you just want that man because you think he's going to be better at IT than me, then that's your loss. Then you're losing out when you have those prejudgments about people. So it hurts the organization, it hurts the person, and you're losing out on what could potentially be an awesome candidate because you're looking at what's familiar. You want to go with what's familiar to you. So.
Yeah, I think y'all brought up some very good points, especially the human resource, what Jahmaal said about the human resources. I've seen that a lot with the human resource. Me and Shannon had talked about that, especially the last job I had. Human resources was the worst part of the company. I mean, and like you said, it was a woman in charge, but that was the worst part of the company. The people she wanted to bring in weren't a good fit for the company from jump. And she was bringing in people, and then people wasn't even lasting in the company. So it's like, what are we doing?
I'm sorry. So I think and I know we're getting off and we got to go back, but I think sometimes women, we want to appear as if, and I saw this a lot in the military, like the higher rank you go, it's like you start transitioning into like, you want to be a man, you want to talk like a man. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to stop being me. I'm still going to be feminine. I'm still going to be who I am in my core. And I don't have to compromise myself to have a seat at the table. And I think sometimes women, we think that we do, and some of us, not all of us, but some of us think that we have to compromise ourselves and do the things that men would do. And we end up hurting our own selves in the process. So.
I definitely agree with that. So moving right along, we're coming down to actually the end. I said I made a boo-boo on one of these questions, but I'm going to skip down. That's why I got bonus questions in there. So I think I had messed up on my printout that I have, but I'll give Jahmaal the bonus question that I had down the fill in, because number 10, I don't know how I did that, but it's all good. Hey, we live, we can keep moving. Jahmaal, what do you think is the difference between racism and prejudice? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but it's a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I mean, like Shannon talked about it earlier, like when you hold power and you use that power to oppress, to keep from opportunity, to keep from forward movement, to keep from advancement. And that's where you get the term. And a lot of times when you come into a party or political thing, people don't like the word systemic racism. Sometimes Christians don't like that word. It kind of makes people cringe. Like there's a certain line of thinking that it just doesn't exist. And there's a certain line of thinking that it pushes everything in the media, like everything is not systemic racism. Please stop that. But you have systems in place, like such as the redlining, such as the Jim Crow laws. Those are systemic racisms to keep a certain group of people oppressed. If I could talk about, I won't go there because I don't get too wordy, but Northern and Southern Korea, there's a lot of systemic racism there that is almost worse than the United States. Systems put in place to keep people from advancement. Whereas prejudice is prejudgment. I see this person is woman, or this person is Mexican, this person is Middle Eastern. So I have prejudices against what I perceive them to be, or what their potential is, or how they perceive me, or how I'm going to interact with them. Or maybe I just won't interact with them. So I think those are the difference between, racism and prejudice. I think everyone, has some level of prejudgment, because they don't rub shoulders with everyone who doesn't look like them. If we go to the middle of Samoa somewhere, there are going to be some prejudgments in my mind, like, okay, they all outweigh me by like maybe 10 times because I'm a slight, small guy. And, they can just eat me alive in a wrestling match. There may be some Samoas that's like weigh 150 pounds. I don't, those prejudgments that we just think, or they're all good, or like, let's say like all black people are good at basketball, or some black people cannot play basketball worth a darn, or all white people are good at tennis. Serena Williams had 23 Grand Slams. If all white people good at tennis, she wouldn't have none. So I'm just dropping some analogies here. Even prejudgments that may sound good, sometimes they're backhanded, because that's a prejudgment that you have based on what you think. Whereas racism is a system that is put in place. So the two are very, very different.
That's good. Shannon, Mama Liz, y'all want to comment on that one? Mama Liz like, nah, yeah. Jahmaal
Nope,
said
nope,
that.
he got it.
Get that one out the park.
Okay, moving right along. Coming back to you, Mama Liz. It's just a little small scenario, and if everybody want to chime in after you, you can go ahead. If you were in a grocery store and witnessed racism, how would you handle that situation? Or have you been in that situation before? I know you mentioned the thing with the basketball player, but you've been in another situation, anything like that?
Just went right on. But I've not been in the situation before. So but what I do, sometimes I'll see arguments, just people not treating each other right or whatever. And so I'm going to base it on that. And what I usually do is I talk to everybody. I mean, just like I am on, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm Mama Liz, and it's like, what's wrong with this lady? Well, I do the same thing in real life. So I would step into the conversation and try to bring balance, because I want to love both sides. Mm-hmm. I don't want to love only the one being attacked, but the one that's attacking, because they both deserve that, and try to bring grace and balance into it. And, one of the things that I do, and I'm going to, I think this is the most powerful thing in the world. If somebody comes to me with gossip, and so I'm going to say, if somebody comes to me with racism or I encounter it, instead, I'm not going to listen to that garbage. Okay. I'm not. And so I'll say, my first thing I'll say is let's just stop and pray for that person. And I'll get that person praying for the person they're against. It is magic. It's just like all of their stuff that they, the argument, the words they want to say, everything just kind of melts when they start to pray for the other person. And so, especially if they were Christians in this kind of situation, I'd be like, hey, what, guys, let's just pray for each other, and force them out of themselves into something bigger. Because suddenly, when you do that and you start praying for someone else, it changes things. But also, and if it was bad, there's the Mama Liz that goes after a bear with a pitchfork in the farm, kind of person too in here. So, I can rise up and defend somebody that needs it. Also, another thing is bringing, I can come in and respect that person that's being attacked in a way that brings respect to them. Because if I come in to show respect and I'm giving them, love, and I'm giving them respect, and I'm giving them, eye contact, and all those things, that I'm communicating to that other person, this person deserves respect. And without saying a word, I've communicated a whole lot. And so those are different things, different ways that I, depending on the situation, on how I would approach something like that.
I think that's good, Mama Liz, because, and I think I said that kind of in the beginning, it takes us calling it out what it is, and a lot of times people, when they see that everybody's not standing with them, a lot of times people will back down, and sometimes people, and then you have people who are ignorant, who are ignorant.
You gotta love them anyway.
But you need to call them out on their stuff, and you bring it to their attention, and they're either gonna keep doing what they're doing, or they're gonna be like, what I did was wrong, but nobody has ever challenged me on it, so I just kept doing what I did.
Mm-hmm. So, and when someone steps in and says, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna pollute myself with this. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just can't. Yes. And it's like, they're like, whoa, because they don't know how to take that.
Right. And especially in the workplace, especially when a supervisor or something is used to going they have unlimited power, and everybody just status quo, and they just, go along with the grain when that person comes in there, and they're like, because I've had to do that with a female supervisor when I was in the military. She would curse at everybody. And I'm like, look here, ma'am, I respect you, but one thing you're not going to do is you're not going to curse at me. And she was like, all right, Chief, okay. You know, and we just carried on because, you know, once you have to let people know where you stand. And once they do, most people will respect that. Now, you're always going to have an ignorant person in there that maybe wants to go off on you or whatever, and you just let them shake the dust off your feet, like Jahmaal said. But it's somebody standing up and saying, hey, not to me, not in my presence. I'm not going for racism. I'm not going for sexism. I'm not going for that. So that's not what I stand for. And I think if more people did that, if more, you know, instead of pulling out your phones, recording, hold that person accountable. You know what I mean? So,
step into the conversation.
There you go.
It is so easy to do. I mean, just listen to what's going on, find an opening, and step into the conversation and change it.
Yes.
You have the power to change the atmosphere of what's going on and the direction that's going. You really do. If you have the right heart and you do it the right way, you can change it. And if enough people did that enough times, we could see major change in the workplace and in the grocery store and everywhere else. It's just being willing to step in and say, wait a minute, let's talk about this, you know, and bring a balance into it and a love into it that overcomes that.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
That's good. I can't follow on that one. I'm good, Jahmaal.
No, I'm listening to both of these ladies, and my heart is full. I'm getting fed right now. I was thinking as they were both talking about that proverb that says, you know, he who enters into a quarrel that's not his own is like taking a bear or a dog by the ears, and just thinking that in doing that, to approach the situation with discernment. Of course, I know each of these three people on the panel with are people who are prayed up, who are living and walking in discernment. Before anybody who's watching, I'm saying this to myself, to be prayed up before you leave, so that when a situation like that arises, that you have discernment on how to approach in a way that's redemptive, in a way that's not destructive. And like Mama Liz said, or Shannon, one of y'all said, instead of taking out the phone and let me see some drama, what can I do, like Mama Liz said, to be a part of the solution? And being a part of the solution is speaking and approaching in a manner that de-escalates. Because especially if it's a situation with race, especially in today's climate, everybody's up here. And when you're up here, you can't even hear each other. Everybody's just talking. And so for someone to come in there, no matter what they look like, and just calm it down and bring people to a level of respect. Because a lot of times when you walk away, you don't even remember what you said, or you look at it back play viral and you're like, wow, I just embarrassed myself and my whole family doing that, you know? So for a third party to come and mediate that, I do think takes wisdom, it takes discernment, but it also takes how would God approach this, you know? Jesus had to talk to a lot of different people and a lot of different facets, and he had every mic drop you can think of, you know? And so I would say for us, you know, in that, and if you see something like that, to be prayed up and approach it carefully, because you don't know what type of spirit that person is in and what they're activating. And we're not wrestling against what is seen. And I have to be careful myself, like if I'm on Facebook, because I'm not good on Facebook, so my videos just tend to scroll. And it usually always scrolls to some of those viral videos. And it's just like, Jahmaal, think about what's happening behind the scenes. Before you get angry, before your spirit begins to shift, think about what's happening in the unseen. And think about the unseen enemy that's throwing rocks and then hiding, and all you see is that person, and you just see that anger, and you see what you feel, you know. And so we have to remember, it's the unseen enemy that we're battling against, calling it out for what it is.
Yeah.
And saying, I want to be a part of the solution. I don't want to escalate the problem.
While you were talking, Jamil, I just got to say this. You know, the story about Jesus walking into the situation when the woman is being stoned or getting ready to be stoned. And he de-escalated that whole thing by just turning it around and looking at them and saying, okay, you got no sin in your heart? Then you throw it. You know, and all of a sudden the whole atmosphere changed, and they dropped their stones and walked away. And what did he say to her? Go and sin no more. You know, he loved her. And you know, and that's exactly what's happening. You know, we're getting a race, a person because of color, and we're picking up our stones and ready to stone them.
Wow.
We got to put those stones down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and especially with cancel culture? You see it, you know, and it's just like, okay, who we gonna stone today? You know, who has made us angry today? You just see it so much. But I think that is the takeaway. Put your stones down. How can we be a part of the problem? I mean, part of the solution and not the problem. So I love both of those points. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. We're going on to our last question. Luckily, they let me record the whole thing, so that's a good thing. A thing popped up. Hey, praise God, it did. It popped up and said, "Hey, we're waiting your 40-minute thing." Hey, I'm gonna tell you at the end, but hey, that's why we never stop. I'm like, hey, let me record the whole thing. So, hey, the prayers works.
Hurry up before it cuts off.
Yeah, I know. Okay, last question. Coming to you, Shannon. What do you want people to learn about racism, you know, that takes place at work?
Get out of your comfort zone. We talked about it with HR. If everybody would just get out of their comfort zone, because what happened, and Jahmaal talks about this, I think, all the time on his, quite a bit, or I've seen different posts. Just get out of your comfort zone, because what good comes out of your comfort zone? Everything that when we grow and we evolve, it comes when we are uncomfortable, you know, and nobody likes being uncomfortable. But if HR would just step out of its shell and say, hey, we're going to go with this candidate, you know, not based on what we have on our board already, or, you know, in the workplace, hey, I'm going to go talk to somebody who's different than me at the water cooler today. You know, so what if we just stepped out of our comfort zone in all different areas of our life, especially as it pertains to race? How much more could we grow and evolve as a culture, as a society? And it is comfort, because, you know, like when you meet somebody who's the same comfort, it is certain things that you're going to know. You're going to know the vernacular. You're going to know the songs. You're going to know certain things. But it's when we step out and talk to somebody who may not know those songs, and now we can learn their songs. And look, well, we've just expanded. You know, we just expanded our mind. We've expanded our music selection, or whatever it is at the time. So if we just step out of our comfort zone in regards to race, we can make this world a better place. It sounds so cliche, but we could. We actually could.
That is definitely true. I agree with that. Jahmaal, Mama Liz, y'all have anything to add to that last question before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think she's got it. I think that's the key, is get out of your comfort zone. And companies are just so set in their ways. Mm-hmm. And we need to just break down those preconceived notions about the way we do stuff, and rethink them, rewrite the programs, rewrite the way we do things. And it's not going to change if we don't. So absolutely, get out of your comfort zone, and let's do something new and different. And we're going to mess up when we do. You know, there are going to be some mess ups, but that's okay, because it's at least moving towards solutions to make it better.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, y'all dropped so many nuggets. This is tough. But I think about what Shannon, where she began with saying, getting out your comfort zone. And then Mama Liz, I love the way you ended this, saying you're going to mess up. And so I would say calling fear out for what it is. And I'm saying this to myself. A lot of times, HR or a manager may come up with a new initiative. And I'm a friendly guy, but I'm also an introvert. So when I see a new initiative, the fear automatically says, oh, heck no, I can't. It's no way. I'm not going to be comfortable in that situation. And so you get invited to something that's like, oh, you know what? I got plans, y'all. You know, but actually going against the grain of what I'm comfortable with and saying, you know what? Even if this could be the worst experience, why not just test the water? Mm-hmm. And whenever I've done that and gone against the grain of how I feel and move forward by faith, I'm like, Why didn't I do that a long time ago?
Exactly.
You know? And so I think we can get, if we will, especially those melancholies and those Enneagram ones who just like overthink everything. And I'm preaching this to myself. Please, if anybody is listening is going to watch this video, if a new initiative arises, take part in it. Because the only way that we can really learn and really move forward and going against racism in the workplace is through contact. We can do so much more in the same room than we can behind separate doors. And we spend a lot of time in the workplace working in the same room in all the cubicles, and then we just go to our own little place where we're sequestered, where we're comfortable. This is my culture, this is my group, this is my clique. And we can come out of our cliques and say, okay, I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm willing to mess up. This is gonna be messy, but let's just do it. I think there, in that refiner's fire, a lot of maturity happens.
Wow. That's some good closing right there.
That's where the growth happens. Absolutely.
Yes. Once again, hey, we came to the end as we was able to get through it. I thank all y'all for participating in this. I couldn't have done this by myself. I just know I couldn't have. It's too broad of a subject and too much to deal with just for one person. You need a group of people and a group of people that's willing to come and actually talk about the issues about racism in the workplace, not only in the workplace, but just in the world in general. So I appreciate all y'all coming forward. Before we close, I always like to, at the end, let everybody tell, if you want to give your social media or, the company you're working for again, just so people, they want to get in touch with you or things like that. I think it's always good to promote that and, help promote each other. Sorry about that. So we'll start with Mama Liz. If you want to give like social media or your LinkedIn or company, how to get in touch with you.
Oh, my website is lizfranklin.com. And if you look for me on LinkedIn, just do #Mama Liz.
Okay. Okay. Hey, so that's real simple. Jahmaal?
I keep it very simple.
Easiest place to find me right now is Jahmaal Marshall. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Jahmaal Marshall on LinkedIn, so you'll find me. I'll pop up. I don't resist any connections. If you're Forex or Bitcoin, I may have to pray about that though. So
yeah, I want you on that Forex and Bitcoin.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
Shannon?
Shannon Savoy, of course, on LinkedIn. On my business pages are Narc Free Living LLC on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So find me there, or on my website, www.narcfreeliving.com.
Wow. Okay. Once again, this is Faith-Based Workplace YouTube channel. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. This is one of the best ones. This was great. I appreciate it, and I look forward to doing more of these like this. I learned something, from this video, so I look forward to doing this again with, whether it's y'all doing different groups of people. It's just good to see different points of view on different issues. So, and me and Shannon talk about it a lot. Is we only can see so much, just us two. When you allow other people to come in, then you get their points of view. You learn how they see things, how they do things. Like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't know that could be done like that. That could be something as simple as cooking. I mean, they cook different north than they do south. I'm from Louisiana, so we're not gonna cook the same as people from Tennessee or North Carolina or Washington D.C. or wherever. I'm just gonna say we got the best food. I know it's off topic, but I'm just saying.
You have to come eat from Mama Liz sometime.
I'll take you up on that offer. But once again, we'll close this out. And like I said, I appreciate all y'all. So I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.